All right, so interference, what we're talking about today, this continuation, we talked about this the other day. Uh, Interference occurs when two waves come together and occupy the same space, okay? When two waves come together and occupy the same space. So if I would be talking right now and someone else is being rude and talking while I was talking, our waves would have interference. They're in the same room, they're occupying the same space. Superposition is not superstition. Don't get confused with that. Superposition is multiple waves occupying the same space. So interference is a type of superposition. Okay. Mechanical waves, anything that requires a medium, and light waves can do this. Okay, and light waves can do this. But you know, compression waves is the easiest one to think about with this. There are two types of interference. I think I spelled interference wrong with that. It's a combination of two or more waves. It produces one wave typically, okay? It typically produces one wave. Now, if I talk and you talk right now, we're not going to produce one wave, are we? No. Now, if we're saying the same thing, if we're saying the same thing at the same time, that's what the type of interference we'll talk about. Talking about being two things, in phase and out of phase. In phase and out of phase. Now, where have you heard like in phase before? I would hope. You could almost use a different word instead of saying in phase and out of phase. You're in tune and out of tune. Okay. So like when you're singing in choir, Coterion, uh, aren't you in the choir? I'm jealous of people that actually sing very well. I can't. But you want to be in tune. You all want to be singing the same thing at the same time. Okay. So that would be in tune. Now, me myself personally, I'm always out of tune. My waves go out of phase when I sing with other people. I can't carry rhythm in a bucket. So we're thinking of in phase and out of phase as being in tune and out of tune. Two types of interference. The first type is constructive interference. If you construct something, what do? You build something and you build it up, don't you? That's what constructive interference is. It is when two or more waves come together and they add together and they add to make a bigger wave. And they add to make a bigger wave. So if we're all singing the same song, hopefully we're going to have constructive interference, correct? Because we're all going to become louder than we are. The one wave that we're singing together is going to become louder than each individual wave. So that's talking about being in phase. Constructive interference is typically it is in phase. Okay, it is in phase. They add together and they build up the amplitude. The amplitudes add together. So if you have one wave with an amplitude of 4, another wave with an amplitude of 6, and there's constructive interference, what is the resultant amplitude going to be? How would you find that? Add them together. You add them together, so it'll be 4 plus 6, okay? So you just add the amplitudes together. You add the amplitudes together. So tomorrow you're going to see that a lot easier. You have a quizzes tomorrow, and you have some questions of that. What would be the resulting amplitude of the wave and things like that. Then that's the question there. So you add the amplitude together. You add the amplitude together. So you can see here in this picture, okay, in this picture, you have two waves coming together. A person on each end is shaking the rope. Well, here is the resultant wave, isn't it? And notice its amplitude is bigger than these two individually. But if you would add this height plus this height, it equals that height. Okay. They don't necessarily have to be traveling in opposite directions. Okay. In this case, they are. Just the picture there was the easiest thing to do to find that. But notice how the new wave is bigger than the two smaller waves. So the superposition principle is the method of summing the waves together to get the resultant wave. So same thing here. Here's wave 1. Here's wave 2. The new amplitude is this height plus this height equals that height. Same thing here. Same thing here. Okay. Notice both waves are getting bigger, aren't they? Both waves are getting bigger. But point I want to make out with this, okay? Are the crests and troughs of these waves matching up? Yes. All the crests are right here, aren't they? Yeah. All the troughs are right here, correct? All the crests are right here. That is a requirement for constructive interference, okay? The crest and the troughs need to meet it. All the crests need to meet. All the troughs need to meet. You can't have a crest and a trough meet at the same time and create a constructive interference. Destructive interference is when you tear stuff down. Some waves may completely cancel out. Not all waves will completely cancel out, but they can cancel out. The difference, what's the difference? When you're talking about in math, what's difference mean? Subtract. Okay, we're talking about the difference between the amplitude of the wave. So if you want to find the new amplitude, you subtract it. You subtract them. So here is a destructive interference. Now notice Wave 1 is the yellow, orange one, whatever the hell you want to call it. Wave 2 is the blue one. The new wave, oh, pardon me, wave 1, this is a crest, isn't it?
Yes.
Wave 2, this is a trough, isn't it?
No. Yes.
This is the bottom part of the wave. So in this case, you're having a crest and a trough being at the same time. So that's what tearing them down. Okay, think about subtracting it out. So this height from here, from wave 1 to the new wave, is the same height as the rest position to the new wave. This is out of phase. So this would be like if singing, you want to listen to some people singing. If we're all singing together, and oh, Smiley over there, not being in tune.
Yeah.
If we let him singing, okay, it would be destructive. Okay, it would be destructive in that. So a destructive makes a smaller wave. So just here's pictures of some waves. Okay, here's pictures of waves. We're going to play with some waves here in a few minutes, actually. A standing wave. Okay, a standing wave is a wave pattern that appears to stand still. The wave traveling in opposite directions. The waves travel at the same frequency. Okay, these waves travel at the same frequency. Now, where do you want to create like a standing wave? Where do we create standing waves a lot? Who's in the band in here? The band. Who's been in band in here?
God, I haven't, dude.
Well, I don't know much about band, but I know like the trumpet player has a different music sheet than the flute player, that has a different music sheet than the drum player, correct? That's because what they want to do is they want to create these standing waves. Okay, they want to be in tune. They all have different things, so they all have different frequencies. So they want to create these things. Okay, they want to create these things. So standing waves are very, very important in what we're doing. Okay, a lot of things like this, but they don't really like they're moving. Okay, no, this is a picture of a standing wave. Okay, that wave doesn't ever like it never really moves, does it? Just these spots here. So these spots, these red dots are what are called the nodes, okay? Or what's called the nodes. The nodes are the points where they cancel out, because standing waves is a combination of multiple waves, but the way they're coming, the nodes never move, okay? The nodes never move. The antinode, so the node is the point that doesn't move. The antinode is this point right here in the middle. Halfway in between, and the antinode is where you get crests and troughs, okay? The antinode is where you get crests and troughs. It also has the largest displacement. We're talking about displacement. What are we measuring? We're not saying this. We're talking about displacement numerous times on here. What are we measuring? In a way, yes. If you're talking about a sound wave, yes, in a way, okay? But we're measuring the energy, okay? We're measuring the energy. If I have more energy in my voice, I have a higher volume. You are correct with that. So nodes are these points right here that don't move, and antinodes are these points in between that do move. Other thing I want to talk about today is just review a resonance, okay? Resonance is adding energy above its natural frequencies. We saw the bridge, it vibrated. We also saw like on the swing, that's why when you push on the swing, you keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. If you don't add more force to it each time, and I don't add more force when I'm pushing my daughter really high, at the end, I apply the same force every time, and it just keeps building up, building up, building up, building up. Now, eventually, it gets to the point where we can't build it up anymore. What do you know about certain frequencies of glass? And this kind of goes along with resonance. What can your voice do to glass?
Break it.
Can break it. Okay, that's why you see like opera houses. Opera singers are not made of glass. Okay, the buildings are made of brick. There are no. If you ever go to an opera house, there is no glass. You ever listen to a place with an opera, there is no glass. Like I've been to one opera. I went to the Fox Theater in St. Louis, and there is no glass. Now there's glass when they're coming in, but they make sure they keep it shut off, because the singers, when they're producing these waves, when you produce some resonance, the glass will vibrate and break.
When you were there, you was bored, like, what they think?
Yeah, I mean an opera is a singing. It's like a singing place. What an opera is. Bored? That was cool. I've never. It's. I would say this, and this is. I thought the same thing too. For